All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to the Inner Circle Live Pre-New York session. I'm your host for this morning's session, Benny Allen, and I'm definitely happy and grateful for each and every one of you being here with us this morning as we take a look at the technicals and the fundamentals to see what we can take advantage of in the Forex market. So without further ado, eliminate any and all distractions, grab a pen and paper, take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. If everybody can hear me loud and clear, do me a huge favor, drop me a 1 in the chat so we can go ahead and get this session started for this morning. I appreciate it, beneath. So each and every morning, we want to make sure that we're taking massive action, meaning that we are accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing for any outcome. Let's make sure that we center ourselves in body, mind, and spirit, ensuring a balanced approach to trading. Let's continue to trust in our education, strategy, trading skills, and intuition. And let's always imagine our trade successfully materializing. We want to be sure to obey our trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed and fear. And we want to make sure that we are never looking back or stopping once our trade has commenced. So hope everybody has had a wonderful week so far. And so let's get right to it this morning. So let me close out of here. And we want to we want to take a look at, because this is pretty important, right? So the US dollar climbed above 99.5 on Thursday, recovering some losses from the previous session as investors continue to assess the outlook for the Federal Reserve monetary policy in light of shifting trade policies. In a speech on Wednesday, Fed Chair Jerome Powell warned that tariffs could fuel inflation and slow growth, complicating the Fed's dual mandate of price stability and maximum employment. We've been talking about that a lot, right? Powell also signaled that the Fed, this is key, right? Especially with some of these plays we're going to take a look at this morning. He signaled that the Fed is in no rush to cut interest rates, citing the need for more clarity before making any policy moves. Meanwhile, as investors awaited signs of potential trade negotiations between the U.S. and China, with Beijing reportedly open to talks under certain conditions. On the economic front, U.S. retail sales surged in March, marking the strongest growth in over 2 years and highlighting continued consumer resilience despite broader economic uncertainties, right? So, anybody, why do we think, right? Why do we really think um uh I see how it's being sold here, but why do we really think we saw a huge boost in retail sales in March? Anybody? Put it in the chat. Any thoughts? Why we they say here that marking the strongest growth in over 2 years and highlighting continued resilience despite broader economic uncertainties. Exactly, Reese. Right. So there's the media narrative, and then there's the reality, right? Continued consumer resilience despite broader economic uncertainties. That's exactly what it is. People, businesses trying to get ahead, right, of the price hikes that are on the horizon. That's exactly right, right? Drop you some sevens in the chat for that, Reese. Right? Spot on. That's exactly what it was, right? So we'll see if that's sustainable, right? Or when the next report comes out. But that's exactly what drove uh, um, retail sales in March, right? So something to think about there, right? Too smart, this group, right? To fall for that. Front page here, ECB to cut rates by 25 basis points. It's widely expected to cut rates by 25 basis points on Thursday, bringing policy rates to the top of the ECB's estimated neutral range. This would mark the sixth straight cut since June, lowering the key deposit rate to 2.25% amid weakening growth, subdued inflations, and uncertainty from U.S. tariffs, right? So we know that the euro, right, it shows some strength as of late. We'll see what happens, right, this morning. Uh, we'll see what goes down, right? 8:15, main refinancing rate, monetary policy statement. And as the ECB press conference is at 8:45, we got unemployment claims for the United States and the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. Uh, so we'll see what happens. I'm interested to hear the forward guidance from President Lagarde today from the ECB. We also got natural gas storage. And then for New Zealand, we got a bank holiday all day today. All right. Just remember tomorrow here in the United States is Good Friday, right? Good Friday, right? So just keep that in mind uh, for tomorrow. But that's the key thing, right? So you can see a little uplift in the dollar because of the Fed stance on not cutting rates, right? If we move over to we're already here. Take a look at gold. Gold fell below 33.30 per ounce on Thursday as investors took profits after the bullion reached a record high earlier in the session, driven by demand for safe haven assets amid continued uncertainty in the United States trade policy. Market focus has been on the ever shifting tariff headlines, with the Trump administration pursuing potential tariffs on semiconductor and pharmaceutical imports by initiating trade probes shortly after signaling a possible delay to existing auto tariffs and suspending levies on some tech products and reciprocal duties. Meanwhile, Fed Chair Powell said on Wednesday, so we read about that already. Um, as this is like looking at a lot of these charts, you would think we're like on it, like in a holiday or something. The way a lot of these charts are just moving sideways, because that's just the state in which we're living right now. Everything is sideways. So that's where we are, right? So you know, some of the setups are tough to find. You have to be patient, but please don't give your money away, right? In the market. Trade your spots, trade your zones, and just sit on your hands, because that's what they are doing. How do you, in this environment, if you're a company, decide, you know, whether to invest more money in your company, to uh, expand your company overseas, when things are changing, or do business here in the United States, who knows, right? With everything changing every single day, it makes it tough. It makes it tough. So just just continue to be patient. Be patient. That's whether you're trading prop, or your own investment accounts, right? So just keep that in mind. Ryan, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, bro. I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good, man. What's top of mind for you this morning?
Um, you just covered the part about the data and Fed Chair Powell. Something else to note is um, Royal Bank of Canada Blue Bay Asset Management, which is among the largest banks by market capitalization.
Yep.
They took a bear stance on the dollar.
Okay.
Initially short positions due to their diminishing investor confidence and concerns over U.S. economic policy. So, something to look at as we look at some of those larger long-term positions on the dollar and how it's impacted over time.
For sure. For sure. I appreciate that, man. That dollar is definitely bearish. We might be in a correction phase right now, but you know, it's definitely not acting as the safe haven. And considering everything that's going on, I can definitely see it continuing to drop, right? It's always interesting once it gets below, certain levels,
Yeah,
right? So
man.
you can see how it climbed back above that 99.5, right? And so we've seen that before in the past, where it starts to show some resilience around that point, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Yep.
doubt.
So yeah, so here we are on a dollar index, kind of just, you know, moving sideways. And we know in the past, a lot of times, it starts to show some resilience once it gets below 100. But we've got to cast it back on the buy zone on the daily. We got support here at 98.97, which is the beat boundary. Uh, but you can see it's moving sideways, right? Moving sideways a bit. We'll see if it holds up and at least makes a temporary move back to the upside on a correction before moving back down. But you can see from the weekly, right? That's bearish, right? That's bearish for the most part. But in the short term, if you look at things like your dollar CAD on your 1 hour, right? So you can see how this is on the daily. We're oversold back in the buy zone here, and you can see how we're kind of stalling. So even though it may be some temporary strength in the dollar, it could cause this 80-20 here to play out, right? So you want to mark that down on this UCAD. Potential 80-20 is stalling right in our zone here on this 1 hour chart. Okay. So this is a key one. This is a key one here, right? And we're trying to push back above this level. 138.98. We're trying to get back above that. You can see it gave us a strong reaction out of the zone. We came back here and double bottomed. And now we're trying to recover and push higher again, right? So that could be a nice move. We get above that monthly level, and you got close to 190 pips there, right? If we can get some more strength in the dollar, right? Because I'm definitely not a fan of cash strength. The markets are still risk off. It's earnings season. We got a lot of earning reports coming out, so we need something, a catalyst amidst all this tariff mess to just get the markets moving. So these earnings and things that are coming out could lead the way. Whether it pushes the prices up or down on certain assets, that doesn't matter to me. It just needs to get moving, right? And so we'll see. We'll see here. But this is definitely an 80-20 that's in play. Any questions on the dollar CAD?
No,
Nope.
sir.
All right. But that's a solid looking setup there. Dollar Swiss. Bearish, right? We know we've been risk off. And the market for the most part is bearish, but closing in again. All right. Question is it time for some relief? Do we see the dollar pick up? So you got another one here on this dollar Swissy. We know we're risk off. We know that Swiss franc has been strong. But sometimes you just you reach a relief point, right? And it's time for the market to exhale in another direction, at least temporarily, right? So, you know, we're in an 80-20 zone. We're stalling, which is what we like to see. Can it gain the momentum? Okay. Can it gain some momentum, at least temporarily, to move to the upside? So we'll see if we can get two breakouts there. All right. So that's your dollar Swiss on the 1 hour. We know that overall the market is bearish. Are we in a point now where we may see a bit of a correction after these strong downside moves? Okay. So that's your dollar Swissy there. Want to take a look at this Aussie dollar. Okay. So the situation we're kind of hovering, right? Look at this run, right? Look at this run. The Aussie was taking a beating, but we got a weak dollar. You had some positive news out of China with some of their economic data, which you started to see a little bit of strength in the Australian dollar, right? And the New Zealand dollar, right? And so you got that their largest trade partner is China. And so I know a lot of people were wondering, like, well, we're risk off. These are risk off currencies. What happened? That's what happened, right? And she got some good data coming out of China. So, uh, even with the tariff situation. So, this is where we are now. The question is, do we see at least some relief, right? We may take that A boundary out here on the daily, but is it time just for some relief? If it is, right, you're sitting here with an 80-20 on a one. on the Aussie dollar. So if we get back below, right, this 63.31, you've got a 1 hour support here. 1 hour support there. If we break back below that zone, then we could see further declines, right, on this Aussie dollar. So just paying close attention to the dollar after the Powell statement to see if there's any type of opportunity to take advantage of what could be just some temporary dollar strength. As a result, you know, the Fed's outlook in regards to not cutting rates right now, but indeed holding rates. All right. Because we've got the ECB, right, expected a 25 basis point cut. Right. So we'll see how the market reacts. Any questions on that Aussie dollar?
No, sir.
All right. Want to take a look at this pound dollar on the 4. All right. Similar situation. Okay. I'm sitting here, right? Which way does this want to go? Right. We don't have a stochastic lining up yet, but you can see how we're kind of starting to stall a bit, right? Getting, starting to get a little range bound, little mixed signals. We got the drop off, got a bit of a morning star, morning star there. But we'll see what happens, right? But we got a reaction back to the downside. So the question is, do we see a deeper correction? Because we have not gotten a 382 pullback yet on the pound dollar. Okay, so just keeping an eye on some of these dollar pairs. Any questions on the pound dollar?
No questions.
No. And we can see from the daily, right? Where we're headed. But we just took out a high here, right? So do we get a bit of a correction and then a continuation? That correction could give us that 80-20 move on a 4, possibly, right? So let's continue to watch and see how things play out. But we are definitely long. This has been, man, ever since, right? These weeks, ever since Trump took office, right? You just had a down dollar, right? And so that has been long ever since, ever since. So that's that on the pound dollar. Let's move into and take a look at some commodities, right? See where we are. Okay. So you've got this oil play, the 4 hour, 80-20. What do you know? Right? Starting to move up. We hit that daily D extension, hit that 80-20 zone on the 4, and we're just about to come into it. We can get above that 63.53. We're just about to get into that 382 target on that. So that is, then you're looking at the possibility of a cloud breakout there, right? Run smack dab into that 200. But this is playing out. Did anybody get long oil off this 80-20? That was a huge move there with the pullback. Yep, Joy.
Yes.
Yep. Drop some sevens, right? In the chat. Ryan and Joy, right? Long, right? To that 382. The game continues, right? So during these times of uncertainty, the market moves a little slower. That's why it reminds me, like I say, holiday season, summertime, sometimes when you get that slowdown, right? That's what it reminds me of. And you just have to really, really pick your spots. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it means to be a trader. Right? What it means to be a trader. The good thing is we have a framework to follow, right? So we don't have to change what we're looking for. Okay. So that's where we are on oil, gold. Man. So I guess we were right and really seeing what price was going to do at that trend line and at that 50 moving average. Got the U-turn. We got the U-turn pretty much off that 236, headed for that extension. So technically, we were spot on with the area of concern and what price was going to do at this level. All right, so good job, group, on that, because it definitely turned around. Kept moving. So this is the 4. All right, so this could be a beautiful setup, right? So they said, hey, got some profit taken. Look, we're still risk off, still major global concerns. All right. Gold is still to play. So we have to say if we could get a correction at a low price, we'll look to get long. Right. I would prefer to get long here, right? At this level, as opposed to where it is now. But there's no reason to think that gold's not going to continue long after we get a little bit of relief, after we come off the highs a bit. Okay. So we'll see what happens. But man, gold 33.57. Unreal. Unreal, right? But it just, you know, as we're here day to day in this group, if you hang in there long enough, you see enough cycles to really be confident in knowing and understanding these risk on, risk off situation and what assets are going to do what. It just repeats itself over and over again. Right. So if you just be patient and sit back and be calm and look at everything in its entirety from a technical and a fundamental uh, aspect, then you'll realize, like, man, it really is true what they say. Like, when there's times of uncertainty, gold is a play. When it's major risk off situation, you know, man, let's see what's going on with that Swiss franc. Let's see what's going on with the Japanese yen. It just, it has not changed. I don't know if it'll ever change. So they are repeatable patterns, right? As they said, there's nothing new under the sun. This is how it's been for the longest time. So what we have to continue to work on is our patience and confidence in the knowledge that we have, right? To make the plays, because this has been, you could be sitting long in gold since it's good to have in a portfolio anyway, but just from a trading aspect of things and how long we've been following this, right? You could have been sitting long in gold from the beginning of 2024, right? Just position trading gold because we came into 2024 saying, hey, we're in an interest rate cutting environment, right? That's bullish for gold historically, and that held true. And now during times of uncertainty, we know, market participants like to flood money into gold. And so it's definitely continuing to increase in value. All right. So that's where we are on gold, silver. All right. That was the play, right? It's 1 hour, 80-20 on silver. Right? And that's the one thing, right? If yeah, things may be coming around a little slower, but they're big moves when they do. Right. And so this is your 1 hour, 80-20. TP1, 2, and 3, taking out the A. So we'll swing this the other way, like that. And so we'll see if we can get a correction and a continuation, right? So not as many plays out there right now, but they're big plays when we find them. Okay. Let's run this up to the daily. See where we are. Get back to this main fib. See where this is the overall look. We're kind of just in a messy, not good. That's just bouncing back and forth, really. But we were able to catch the latest move off the 80-20. So we'll see what happens, right? We got a 382 pullback already, right? Kind of double bottomed in that area. And we'll see if we can continue, if it wants to continue to move higher. But our play was on a 1 hour, and that one worked out pretty well. Here we are on natural gas. Okay. 1 hour, drop to the lower time frames. Hey, let's trade what we see. Look at the smaller plays. So let's see if this continues to press down, right? Weekly level 317. That's an 80-20 zone. We're starting to stall out a bit. See if we can get that correction. All right. So this is your 1 hour on that gas. And it may, seasons change and it may continue bearish after that. But we know the market moves in waves. So if we press it to our 80-20 zone, we test this weekly level. Hey, let's use additional confirmation and see if we can catch that pullback. Okay. So that's where we are on natural gas. Copper. Right. So there's money still to be made. There's money still to be made. 80-20 is good. Right? Can anybody play that? Anybody make the play on that 80-20 on copper? No.
No, sir.
No. That's all good. One thing that I do notice, right? I hope you all notice too, that we have seen in this group, man, Ryan, how long we been together now? It's been like going way back.
We've been together since 2019.
So 2019, so we've seen the market coming out of a 2018 correction. We've seen a pandemic of 2020. We've seen multiple elections, right? And now we're seeing a broad tariff war, and these 80-20 still play out. So if it's anything that you all can hang your hat on, is when you identify these 80-20s, regardless of the conditions, regardless of what's going on politically, regardless, we've traded through inflation. We've traded through, rate cuts, major global rate cuts, in regards to monetary policy from the major central banks, war, right? Through it all, these 80-20s have held up. They have stood the test of time. So that is something. If there's anything that you take from this group, is that identifying that price action pattern on a consistent basis is pretty powerful, right? So that's that. I mean, it's much said to be said right there. See what happens next with the price action, but that hit target 1 and target 2 on copper. We'll see what it wants to do next. Any questions on copper?
No, sir.
All right. All right. So if there's anything you take, hey, have a strong understanding, your fundamentals, right? A global macro approach and a good old 80-20. Right. So that's where we are on commodities. Let's take a look at stocks. Right. Tesla. Hey, we drew it up daily. Continue to decline back below 238. So that next support we see coming in there. Right. A lot of traffic there. Let me just mark up the one. Uh this is really a zone here. This whole area. Right. So we get below there, right? It's good night below this zone here. So if we
Been waiting outside this picture.
if we get below this zone here, uh, you know, I don't know why I tried to link that down. I keep forgetting I'm in the wrong in the where I've got multiple different stocks. So we just dropped this down. So here we are on a daily, and we get to the 4 hour. This is how we're looking, right? So we're not far on the 4, where we got the zone from that D extension. All right. So right now it's not looking like this is going to recover and push higher. All right. That's looking down. Anybody got any new latest news on Tesla? No.
I don't. I'll go grab some real quick.
Yeah, it's all good. I don't I just know it's just been falling apart, right? But we've tested that low. We've tested that level before, that 214, and we found buyers. But that's back below 238. That's looking pretty bearish to me. On Tesla, we got Apple here. We got a spike through on a 1, and we're moving down, looking bearish. We got earnings, right? So let's take this up to the 4. Let's get a broader look. But that's a beautiful high that was formed there, moving down. And so if you're trading short in stocks, that's a clean move on the downside. Costco up 35%. Ooh, me. 35%. They gained a lot of new customers, right? Because of that whole ordeal. Look at that on the 4. Now you don't go short with it here, the way that's looking. That's hard to that's a hard play to resist there. Boy, it's Apple on the 4. Mm. Amazon daily. Down, look at that. And this is after a strong move to the upside. Right? We know what that was from. Short, right? So if you're trading, right? Technically, right? I'm not talking about, waiting on that low price for your investment accounts and things like that. You're buying holds, right? We're definitely waiting on a low price for those. But if you're trading right now, technically, fundamentally, what's going on? That's a short, right? That's a short, right? And say, just keep in mind, it's earnings season. That's a clean move on a daily there. Let me drop down to the 4. Yeah, that's nice. 786 pullback. So 151.67 is where that extension is off the 4. Now, so you look for pullbacks and continuations there. Man, everything. Look at how these are positioned. So the key, and the reason why I like drawing these up and going back to revisit and things like that is, am I getting my direction right? Based on my technicals and my fundamentals, do I have the direction right? The answer is yes. Right? Based on our framework and how we trade and how we use the fibs, yes. And it's just a reminder that how we approach the market, look at that on Microsoft. How we approach the market It does not matter what asset you're trading. It's the same approach. And I think that's the unique thing about this group and what we do. Right? Let's turn it over. And so we can see, I think we're just shy. Let me see, the high is 394.51. Yeah, so we get it at 118 on that. So here, right around this zone, right? Just there. All right. Those are looking short. Those are looking short. So that's Microsoft. All right, moving down. All right. So if you're into short stocks trading, look, there's all types of opportunity. All types of opportunity. Walmart's making a U-turn, man. So we get below that 88, 98 level, you look for a continuation. There's a 4-hour chart. Let's go up to the daily. Man, the Walmart's down. Let's go come off of this. We'll take a look at this Costco. Trey brought it up. So here we are. That's a good support there on the weekly. Daily. See where our current fib is here. All right. Right, so we look at our stochastic on a daily, we see we formed a higher low, right? We're just driving up, we're getting rejection right now at 993. So see what happens. All right. See if we can get above that level. Right, we're showing some rejection right now, once, twice. See if we can continue bullish. All right, but that's a Costco is a solid play. It's expensive right now. All right. That's where we are on that. Okay. So that's that chart. We got Exxon. All right. This is on a daily. Take these out. Here. Let's just see if we can get back above this zone. And it's got a lot of traffic there, actually. Matter of fact, I'll move this level up because we had above it and failed. There we are. So not doing too much. Not a whole lot doing there. On that. So that is all I have this morning. We got some decent movement in stocks. Right? You're selling, right? You got some real good movement in stocks. Everything else, right? Pretty shaky, to be quite honest, right? Besides, we went over that dollar CAD, dollar Swiss, some 80-20s out there. But hey, these are the times that we live in right now, right? Any questions over anything that we covered today? No?
No, sir.
Something has just added entry on a 15-minute. Love it here. That's what's up. That's what's up, Reese. Just looking at this chat now. That is good. That is good. 20. Microsoft dropped when they heard Margie. Crazy. Right. Anything before we close out?
Continue to be diligent, good people. All right, pick your spots, find those opportunities, and be patient. Great work, bro. Appreciate you.
That's it. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Reese, that's an awesome play on that 15-minute. Let's see how that plays out on that NAS. All right. So that is it. If you were able to get on the weekly ritual from this past weekend, .NET did an amazing training on options and things like that. So make sure that you check it out. And then, of course, this replay will be up for you to watch today. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.